You're 9 years old. It's the first morning of summer break, and the whole thing stretches out in front of you like an open field with no fence at the end of it. June feels like a country you could get lost in. A single afternoon could hold a bike ride, a scraped knee, a whole imaginary war, and a thunderstorm. And there'd still be daylight left over. Now, think about last summer, the one you just had. Can you even find it? It's a smudge. A couple of warm weekends, a thing you meant to do and didn't, and then somehow it was October. Your calendar hasn't changed. A year is still 365 days. So why does it feel like someone is quietly speeding up the tape? Where did the time go? That question gets louder every single year of your life. And by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly why it happens. And more importantly, what you can actually do to slow it back down. Let's start by killing the obvious suspect. It is not the clock. A second today is the exact same length as a second when you were 9. Time itself isn't moving faster. Physics doesn't care how old you are. So this isn't a story about the universe. It's a story about you, about the strange machine behind your eyes that has to take raw, ticking time and turn it into the feeling of a life. The acceleration is real, but it's happening inside your head, not on your wall. So if everyone's clock runs at the same speed, why does yours feel like it's running out faster every year? Here's the first answer, and it's almost insultingly simple. Back in the 1800s, a French philosopher named Paul Janet noticed something about the math of being alive. Think about what 1 year actually is to you as a fraction of everything you've ever lived. To a 1-year-old, the next year is their whole life again. 100%. To a 5-year-old, a year is a fifth of everything they know, a fat, heavy slice. To you at 20, a year is about 5%. And to you at 50, a single year is a thin sliver, barely 2% of the whole. Picture your life as a ribbon. Every year you live, you tear off one stripe. But here's the trick. Each new stripe is measured against a longer and longer ribbon behind it. At 5, that stripe is enormous. It's a fifth of the entire thing. At 50, the exact same year is a paper-thin band against decades of ribbon. Same year. Same 365 days. But proportionally, it barely registers. Your brain seems to judge time against the total you've already banked, so every year feels smaller than the one before. Automatically. Forever. It's beautiful. It's clean. It explains the whole curve. But it can't be the whole story. Because if it were just simple math, then any two people the same age would feel time at exactly the same speed. And they don't. You know they don't. The year you moved cities, fell in love, started a new job, that year felt huge. The year nothing happened evaporated. Same length. Wildly different feel. So proportion is the skeleton, but something else is the engine. And to find it, we have to ask a sneaky question. How does your brain even measure how long a year was in the first place? It doesn't count the seconds. It can't. You weren't holding a stopwatch. Instead, your brain does something clever and a little bit unreliable. It estimates how much time passed by looking backward and counting how many distinct memories it laid down along the way. Lots of new, vivid memories. Your brain reads that as a long, rich stretch of time. Barely any new memories? It quietly assumes not much time could have passed, and compresses the whole thing. Now look at what childhood actually is. It's a fire hose of firsts. Your first day of school. The first time you swam in the deep end. First time you stayed up till midnight. First bee sting. First taste of the ocean. Every week, your 9-year-old brain is recording in high definition because almost nothing is routine yet. So when you look back, that summer is packed, dense with detail, and dense memory feels like long time. That's why it lasted forever. It really did, to you. Now look at a typical adult week. You wake up to the same alarm, the same commute, the same desk, the same scroll, the same dinner. Your brain has seen all of it 1,000 times, so it stops bothering to record. Whole weeks get filed under one fuzzy heading, work. And when there are no new memories to count, the year collapses inward. Nothing happened, so it must have been short. This is the real secret. First times are time stretchers. Routine is a time shredder. The reason the years feel empty isn't that they're shorter. It's that you stopped filling them with anything new enough to remember. But why do firsts hit so hard in the first place? Why does the new burn itself in so deep while the familiar slides right off? Part of the answer has to do with how your brain rewards novelty. When you encounter something genuinely new, your brain appears to flag it as important, partly through chemicals like dopamine, and it lays that memory down harder and deeper. Familiar stuff doesn't get the flag. It gets recorded faintly, if at all. Scientists also note that dopamine levels tend to decline gradually as we age, and some researchers think that may be one more reason the world slowly stops feeling quite so vivid. It's a piece of the puzzle, not the whole machine, but it lines up with everything else. And here's where it gets eerie. There's a window of your life that almost everyone, no matter who they are, remembers more vividly than any other, roughly ages 15 to 25. Psychologists call it the reminiscence bump. Ask a 70-year-old to tell you their life story, and a wildly disproportionate number of the scenes come from that one decade. First love, first heartbreak, the friends, the music, the night that felt like it would never end. Leaving home, becoming a person. Why that decade? Because it's the densest cluster of firsts you will ever live through. Your identity is being built in real time, and your brain is recording every brick, which is exactly why your teens and your early 20s don't just feel important. They feel long. You lived more in memory terms in those 10 years than in some entire decades that came after. So that's two forces bending your sense of time. But your brain has one more trick, and this one is a straight-up glitch. Try this. Think of a song or a movie or a piece of news that feels like it came out maybe 5-6 years ago. Recent-ish. Now, go check the actual date. It's been 20 years, hasn't it? This is called forward telescoping, and it's one of the most reliably weird things about human memory. We pull distant events toward us. We systematically think old things happened more recently than they did. It was first identified back in 1964, and researchers found a strange tipping point. For events from roughly the last 3 years, your brain tends to push them away. Recent stuff feels a little older than it is, but cross that 3-year line and the effect flips hard. Everything older than about 3 years starts sliding toward the present, feeling closer and closer than it really is. Your brain, it turns out, is genuinely bad at dating its own memories. And that's part of why life feels like it's collapsing inward as you age. 20 years of your past don't sit far away on a timeline. They pile up right behind your shoulder, all feeling like just a little while ago. The decades fold together, and you're left standing there thinking the same 4 words. Where did the time go? So let's put it back together. The proportion shrinks every year. The routine stops printing new memories, and the telescope drags your whole past in close until it all blurs into recently. 3 different mechanisms, all pushing the same direction, faster, faster, faster. And underneath all of it, there's a quieter feeling. The one this whole video has really been about. It's not actually about clocks, is it? It's that low hum at the back of your mind that whispers, my life is going by, and I'm not sure I'm really in it. That the autopilot weeks are stacking up and the field with no fence is getting harder to remember. But here is the turn. Here is the part that matters. The years aren't getting shorter. They're getting emptier of new. And that is the most hopeful sentence in this entire story, because empty is fixable. You cannot add days to your life, but you can change how full each one feels. And you have more control over that than you think. Every mechanism we just walked through runs on the same fuel. Novelty, new memories, firsts. So break the route home, take the trip you keep postponing. Learn the thing that scares you a little. Put down the phone and actually look at the face across the table like it's the first time. Because attention, real attention, is how you make a moment thick enough to remember. You don't need more time, you need more firsts. Do this, and something almost magical happens. You look back on the year, and it feels full. It feels long. You stretch your own life from the inside. Because the time you have is the only time you're ever going to get. And you can spend it asleep, letting the weeks blur into one gray smear. Or you can spend it awake, collecting summers that last forever the way you used to. So the next time December arrives out of nowhere and you hear yourself ask it, where did the time go? You'll know the answer. It didn't go anywhere. You just have to go out and fill it. If this made you look at your own calendar a little differently, subscribe. That's the whole deal here. We take the strange, quiet questions about being human, and we actually answer them. Stick around. There's a lot of life left to pay attention to.